We've had various designs, which I could talk about. We have the diamond, we have the traditional V, and we also have different angles these days. And we do converting of rackets so that if you have a Wilson or a Babolat and you want to put two handles on it, you just bring it to us and we put the two handles on it. We also make a 29-inch one handle that's designed for using two-handed both sides, like Monica Seles, and at one point there were 4 double handle both sides men in the top 100: Fabrice Santoro, Byron Black, Jan Michael Gamble, and Ramon Sluter. So we're about promoting healthier tennis, but we feel like we also get competitive advantages, and it doesn't just go within tennis, it goes into all sports. Personal story is I had a really bad back. At some point I would play one-handled tennis and literally fall down with paralysis because I had become lopsided. And if you just do something over and over and only using one side of your body, eventually we feel like you end up in pain. And there's so many advantages to being symmetrical and integrated, and memory and creativity and problem solving that comes from making a committed effort. I think maybe one of the most documented ones would be the guy who wrote the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Stephen McCovey. And he goes in there that you should start to brush your teeth both sides, use both your hands, eat with the left hand. And what this integrative process does is it makes you a better leader, but it brings so that you're using both. There's a connection that you build between your two brains that makes you a better problem solver. We feel like helps your memory, helps your posture, your longevity. Kids and guys like Ralph have been really and they've been beneficial for us. And we're out there, still living the dream, setting our goals, our intentions, our purpose. And we find that it helps us keep going and stay healthy and stay in shape, and we feel like it gives us something to really look forward to. And I wish I had a diamond here, but you can look it up on the website, naturaltennis.com. A good intro for myself, ranked, world ranked numerous times through the past 20 years on and off the computer. I still think the best moments, found for my life were when that last ball bounced and I knew that I was going to be ranked for a year and could get into multiple tournaments, and sort of gave me like a passport to play and get into more professional tournaments to make, more money, to have more great performances and experiences. So that's it. That's our evolution. Okay, so I'm here and I want to give a quick little demonstration about how to use our racket and just what I would give advice for people that wanted to get involved in two-handle tennis. Now, Ralph, a lot of people buy them as training devices just to use, because the beauty of this racket is that if you don't rotate and use your core and turn sideways, the ball doesn't go in. So it's it really forces you to turn because of the two. With a one handle you can kind of like flap your wrist around and not turn or rotate, and the ball can still go straight. But with this, you really have to get that which is what modern tennis is all about if you want to be a better competitor. So this is how we use it. We just turn. If the basic philosophy is that if the ball is super fast at your body and you needed stability, like you already have a lot of pace coming at your body, that's when we hit our two-handed shots. And there's a big advantage because we feel like you have a lot more leverage and stability. If the ball's slow that you're playing and you want to hit an aggressive shot, we call it, and you want to produce racket head speed. That's the name of the game in most sports. Bat head speed, golf, in golf it's club head speed. So if a ball is slow and we have to generate an aggressive shot, we would use one hand, or you can even use a one-handed backhand. This is the back fist is said to, be able to produce, I think Stan Wawrinka is in the finals of the French Open, and I always say his one-handed backhand may be the deadly, or the the best shot in professional tennis, in my opinion, right now, because he can hit a winner from anywhere. But so you could hit a one-hander, or you could hit a, two forehands. Everyone says run around your backhand and hit forehands. Imagine if you had two forehands, and especially with the inside-out forehand that you get from our V. This is the most popular design through the years, the V. It gives you sort of a natural inside-out forehand. So if you had two of those, you really got the guy going this way, that way. So, and then the reason that I switched to the racket would be this front handle shot. So we hit primarily back handle shots. This is a back handle, two-handed backhand, or a left-handed forehand, and vice versa on the right side. But we also, when we're at the net, the same philosophy. If the ball's fast at our body, boom, two hands. There's a lot of stability here. Almost every ATP pro now, including the Bryan brothers, when they're at the net, they're using a single handle racket and they have to hit a reflex volley. They always grab with the other hand and do it. So with ours, we're already there, and so it's the same. And then if it's a slower volley and you need to create more stick, that's when we take a hand off. And then sometimes we even hit front handle volleys. So when you first get it, you learn this shot. This is called the flip. See how Lionel Burt, the inventor, used to tell me, make the head light. See how I'm going from back handle right now to front handle quickly. We serve like this, so we get this sort of leverage that you would get with a hockey stick. I'm told that not one professional hockey player uses a straight stick. Ironically, in tennis, 99% of people are using a straight stick, but we're giving you the option to create. So this, whenever you serve or you hit a smash, you're pulling, the front handle. Once after you flip, you quickly flip, and as you go forward, it sort of centripetally snaps itself. We call that the counterbalance. As any double handle player will tell you, after the initial 7 days of getting used to the new contact, or 10 days, we start to love this counterbalance because it's a centripetal natural force. Almost, I would equate it to the natural energy that you can get from, say, surfing on a wave. You get this, that's why we all do it. There's some sort of feeling. We get that when we play tennis. We get this counterbalance. And as a player before, I was the type of guy with a smash that, if it was a little bit off, it was like foul shooting in basketball or something. It was a confident shot. If I made the first 2 overheads in a match, I would make the next 30. But if, it was a little windy and I didn't tell my wrist to snap at the right time, because I didn't have that centripetal snap, then the ball would, I might miss one and then I might miss 20. It was an on or off shot. Now it's the double handle players almost don't even have to warm up their overheads, because it's just such a natural shot that we show up with. We just basically swing at the ball, and the racket, like a seesaw would, centripetally goes over and creates a lot of leverage and does the smashing for you. It's that way on the serve. We love that pull down effect. We feel like we get a little more kick, we get a little more angle on everything we do whenever we hit a wide slice. So we're talking about the various models that we have, and you can purchase these rackets, which comes, and some of the advantages to doing it. Ralph and I were talking about, sometimes you get a player that's and has some bad habits, or they've lost the confidence, and it's just a way to reintegrate and start introducing that left side. And we found that a lot of times when you start to work on your weaker side, your other side improves, and there's other similar type advantages that takes place. So I'm also going to talk about a few of the models. We also, there's so many good technologies out there with companies that make rackets, and Babolat and Wilson, and they all have, and Head, and they have these little things that they do really well. Say the woofer system with Babolat, or the Head, the Prestige, the sort of small head, but with a super good racket head speed, gets through the air quickly. So we Lionel Burt, again, I have to credit him for coming. His idea was to have a handle company, and that way you could apply a handle to any racket, and that way you get the advantages. And Nadal's Babolat's glued together. I guess you guys know it's legal. And we always say, your body will thank you when you become bilateral as opposed to unilateral. We call it playing this tennis with both sides of your body, both sides of your brain. It's true, yeah, two-handed backhand does bring your left-hand side, and there are ways that traditional players are using their left side, but we feel like doing it as equal as you can, sending more messages to the weaker side, in the end will be healthier for you, or in the process will be healthier for you too. So this is a Pro Kennex designed, and I'm actually talking with the inventor or the owner of Pro Kennex since 1933. I don't know if you guys knew that the Babolat, the #1 selling racket all time, was a Pure Drive. It was originally a Pro Kennex mold that the French-owned Babolat people took and put a woofer system in, and then it played super well with this. It's an grommet sort of technology. This has the kinetics, so this is meant to take out the cushioning of, and for up until this point, with the whole history of two-handle tennis, most of the people that have come to our company are either extremely intelligent, like Ralph, and professors, retired professors. We just had a neuroscientist, retired professor, Tom Scott from San Diego State. They understand all the brain chemistry behind and the health benefits, so they were sort of the early adopters. The other people were people that came to us in pain, and they had like a lot of overuse injuries, including myself, and I used a one-handle racket. Now we're dividing the vibration, so there are health benefits in the racket. So see how it's going down two handles, but then you add a racket like the Pro Kennex, it's got this cushy kinetic every time you hit the ball, and it also, their racket, we are planning to make a one-piece Pro Kennex, by the way. This is the racket that my girlfriend, Hiromi Sasano, won the National 40s, got San Diego Player of the Year last year, using a double-handle Pro Kennex, because it was a local company that sponsored her. And that's why the pros, the advantages, a lot of times pros already have contracts with people. We take your racket and we put our handle on your racket, just like a tournigrip, and it should be there. Some occasionally they do come loose and we have to re-glue it, but very rarely. And yeah, it just becomes a one-piece two-handle version of anything that you've got out there. Sports like pickleball, ping pong, and stuff, and these sports don't really want all that leverage and competitive advantages, so that's why we tend to stress the health, and that's where guys like Ralph Zaransky come in, because they've studied brain chemistry, they've studied the parts of the brain, they can tell you what the medulla does, they can tell you what what all these things do, the connection, but the hippocampus, but it's the corpus callosum that we feel like you build, you get integrated. So that's why we stress this postural advantages to being able to have everything lined up and be able to walk, but also the I want to say dopamine levels that go up and are created by constantly developing both sides of your brain, both sides of your body. The fingertips grow the brain. That's what this program's all about, is learning to use both the fingertips, and there's little things that, you know, but if you're just using one side, developing one side, same as it would physically, you get sort of lopsided, or you get overly competitive. You get, you know, we always, even when you start this journey with a two-handle racket and developing your ambidextrous and your brain integration, your right side has had more messages. So you have to start sending those messages to the left side and hitting those shots, even if it's just in practice. And, you know, but there will be times where he says, hey, let me just win this. And that's okay. You know, we just, all of us that started this racket, there was sort of a spirituality beyond it. We come from different religions, Christians. We studied a lot of Buddhist philosophy. A lot of our philosophy is, you know, full intention, no attachment. That's why we're able to keep going, showing up, competing, and doing our best. And then when we're done, you know, no attachment. That's more of a Buddhist saying. If you ever get one of our freestyle rackets, it has a lot of the sayings painted on to it. Full intention, no attachment. Your suffering comes from attachment. We do our best in competition and let the chips fall, but we're not attached to winning. And then that's all you can do. But if you're sort of lopsided, and you can see it sometimes in people that, you know, they're super competitive, what we feel like Ralph's program and our racket brings is creating the players like Brian Battistone. You know, it's for 200 years. they served in a certain way in tennis since the Three Musketeers. This guy, I don't know which came first, if he was more ambidextrous or later became ambidextrous, but had the idea like, hey, I grew up playing basketball. He was watching Brazilian volleyball players on the beach and had the idea like, looks like they get more angle. I can jump pretty high. I can dunk a basketball. I'm going to be a professional tennis player. And then threw it up one day and started jumping and hitting the jump serve. I actually hit the world's second best jump serve because it's maybe, no, I don't know that for sure, but it's a shot that I hit because it's bringing back a style of tennis. But Brian was able to develop that creativity because maybe he was ambidextrous, or maybe, I don't know, you have to talk to him to see which came first, but it's all part of it too. And it became a more creative way to compete and win and bring back a style of going to the net and volleying, which was very big in the 80s and 70s when Ralph played, to now it's almost extinct. I can't even think of, maybe there's a couple guys, Karlovic, 7 feet tall, that like to serve and volley, but for the most part it's baseline tennis, and people will tell you it's the string technology. Well, we were bringing a little bit more reach, creativity, etc., and think that might bring the old style of volleying back so that you get more of a variety, and then you still have your good baseliners, but you also have your, which we ultimately feel will make the game more enjoyable to watch and more. Also make a diamond, which was designed more for exclusively 2 forehands. There's no flipping motion that goes. You just turn and hit the ball. Basically, it's like this, but the handles are shaped in a diamond and it's connected at the bottom. And you serve with a back handle, and that's the difference between the V. We like to serve with the front handle. The diamond, the ball actually travels up, and I feel like that for anyone who doesn't have the dexterity, to maybe get past the 4-0 level, and they can't really do this right off. You can see it in the people you coach, or and that's when we bring the diamond in, and then they can just serve with the back handle, turn and hit a forehand, turn and hit a forehand. You can even hit two-handed shots with it, even though I feel like, or we all feel like, you get kind of handcuffed. So we've had a guy, Kurt Pessa, competitive and used the diamond, and he didn't like hitting a backhanded return. It was his weakest shot, so he developed his left-handed forehand, and that return became a lot better than his previous one-handled left-handed slice return, and he ended up winning the USPTA doubles competitions like among the coaches like 2 or 3 years in a row. So those are the 3 rackets. The diamonds, we call this a conversion, and we call this our one piece, and we make these in different lengths. And whenever you send us a racket, we can put the handle on and say maybe, hey, you want to try a 28? For whatever reason, we like the idea. The legal limit is 29 inches, so we make a 29, but we also make a 27. And currently we don't make a one-piece 28, but our standard 27 is a 27 and a half, so it's almost 28. And we do make kids rackets. We attach light handles to any Walmart $25 racket. You can send it to us, or we can send you one. We're currently 3D printing and making our own handles, and we're able to do that. And we're also playing double handle ping pong and introducing a new style, and recently found out that it's legal, and we find that really helps your two-handled tennis and your brain integration, because the paddles are so light, and it's extremely easy to start hitting with this. You got to kind of build up with the tennis. You got to build up a little bit of strength. You got to spend some time on the wall, whatever it is, to get that left side not just stronger, but send the messages. System is all about developing that other side. So, there's some other whole brain stuff out there with handwriting and penmanship, and people don't realize that a lot of the champion athletes in golf in the 30s and 40s, Bobby Jones and stuff like that, had immaculate penmanship. One of the people, another ambidextrous player, or originally player coach, Michael Lavery, gives you hammer drills. The fastest way to build your hand-eye coordination is just bouncing a ball on a hammer. He teaches handwriting, penmanship in reverse. Ironically, with the Chinese, if you look at their calligraphy, they go from left to right, and then you got the Western, scientific, more creative, or I shouldn't say more creative, but the Western philosophy of we right, or left to right. So then you got the left. So it's all, you can look at it spiritually, yin and yang, you can look at it, but you start to use that left hand and the fingertips and doing some cursive penmanship. People don't realize that in 2 or 3 days you can be doing that. So that lends to more left-handed tennis, to more brain integration, more health, better posture, all the advantages to being ambidextrous. So as we were talking about, a lot of athletes, let's say they play what I consider lopsided tennis. They're constantly doing everything right-handed, neglecting their left side. They end up with an overuse injury. One of the advantages all of a sudden, there's been a ton of examples of people who, were forced. We have a player up here in Encinitas, played for University of Washington 17 years ago, injured his right arm and started hitting left-handed forehands. And then, you watch him play and you can't tell which is stronger, his left or his right forehand. There's been people that had rotator cuff injuries, and there was one guy who was a state champion in his age group, right-handed, and had an injury and could no longer use got lopsided on this side, but won within 2 years or maybe a year, I'm not sure exactly the story, won the same championship left-handed. So there's, it can be done. Hopefully you don't have to get to that point where there's a problem and then you solve it and then you get the benefits. But the amount of arm injuries that I'm currently seeing, and you could even make a case that it comes from a brain injury, that it's all leading them towards that. There's so many people out there wearing the tennis elbow braces, which I wore for a year, and I feel like just moves the tension and built up scar tissue, and I ended up having to have a surgery anyway. So I had severe tendonitis, and they had to remove, but I also had back issues from constantly just loading. You can see it with guys like Tiger Woods these days. If you're just constantly doing, just loading that one side, that one knee, you're eventually going to burn it, like Mark Philippoussis, you're constantly just serving on that one knee, doing all the work, 90%, and never balancing it out. You're going to get injuries. So there's people like Ralph, and in this world who can get us ambidextrously faster, and they've researched these technologies over 35 years, come up with these wall exercises, hand-eye coordination, throwing the balls, doing all those things that can accelerate us to get to those, so that we don't just have to go out and just exclusively start using the other side, even though that's pretty. You look at the success of Sharapova and Nadal. If you see him at the French Open signing autographs, he does it right-handed. He plays tennis left-handed. I'm told that Uncle Tony, tied his original coach, tied his right arm behind his back when he first went to play tennis and wouldn't let him. I don't know if that's the best idea. I would say to raise a kid, you can see it when you're teaching kids, anybody out there, when they first step on a tennis court, that it is so natural for them when you throw them a ball to hit it here, and then you throw it over here, and then they hit it here, and then as humans, we're always looking, oh look, he's left-handed, oh look, he's right-handed, and we foster that sort of from the beginning. We and this idea that there is a dominant side, as opposed to like if we fostered, creating ambidextrous players from the beginning, so that when the ball comes over here, they're hitting a one-handed, two hands this way, anything. One of our sayings throughout anything we do to one side, we do to the other. And until you're there fully integrated, I say minimally you do it 3 times more on your weaker side every time you do it on there. So if I'm doing the handwriting, you know, my penmanship's really good because I've had millions of messages on the right side. My left hand is now catching up because I'm doing it 3 times more. Anything I write right-handed, I sit down and write it left-handed 3 times just to get more messages, to build those connections, those wavelengths, sent to the other side. And yeah, that's most of the injury, the things, and then the added benefit of vibration coming down 2 handles can only reduce, but it also, I feel like, takes a lot of the work off your wrist, the 2 handle, just because this other handle's always helping, either pushing or pulling and counterbalancing, and that's just, is there anything else, right?